Bitcoin has finally seen a nice pump to the upside, and I want to break down for you how high this thing can go. Are we actually going to be recovering this market right now, or are we going to be dipping back down? And I want to cover every single angle for you in as much of an objective manner as I can do, because that is what this YouTube channel is all about. So if you know you're going to enjoy this one, do me a favor and smash up the likes, subscribe if you're new to the channel as well, and let's get straight into this. Here's the deal, is that Bitcoin was trading in a very nice sideways trading range for most of the past couple of days. I was showing it to you with a parallel channel that looked something a little bit like this, and we were getting a few fake outs to the upside and a few to the downside, but for the most part the trading was generally just happening inside of this box. And if we measure this, it lasted about 4.5 days, and it only spanned a range of about $700 or 1.7%. We've now seen quite a big breakout to the upside. If we measure this, take a look at this. The first big drop that we got, the drop that I was actually talking about, the drop below 40k, this was a minus 4% push to the downside, and the breakout that we've had just now is a minus 2% push. This is the first thing that I want to put into perspective right now. Bitcoin did something much more bearish just, I mean, what was this, literally yesterday, than what it's doing right now in terms of being bullish. And so to put this into perspective, you know, I don't want to see us getting very, very happy and excited over this. If we do, I'm going to start getting concerned again. If we look at the fear and greed index, for example, it's not dropping down too much, but we are still in extreme fear, and we obviously know that we can't stay here forever. However, you know, this isn't something which I think we're going to see the fear and greed index staying low anymore. You know, I think that we're going to end up seeing this thing pump above 25, and of course the data comes in 4 hours, so we'll know relatively soon what the fear and greed index is saying. But the main thing to show you guys right here is that actually, because we've cleared a lot of the resistance, you know, generally when we clear one area of resistance, you know, the resistance here, we're going to be rising up to the next area of resistance. And so the question becomes, where is that resistance? The resistance that I'm seeing on this chart, I'm seeing two key levels. The first key level that I'm seeing on this chart is right here at the $44,000 level. We didn't really interact with it recently. However, historically, this line has been very, very important. Let me just change the color of this line to blue, and let's just trace this back throughout Bitcoin's history just to remind ourselves how important this level has been. So we were getting a few rejections here around September of 2021 when we had this fairly large correction from 53k all the way down to 40k, and then we were also finding quite a lot of support before that, and also a little bit of resistance, not too much, but historically going even further back, it was still an important level. So 44k, an okay level, but not the strongest area on the chart. However, it is keeping in mind, because it is worth keeping in mind because it can still offer Bitcoin a little bit of resistance. I'm not going to count it too much though. The next main area of resistance that I do see for Bitcoin is going to be at about 45.8 all the way up to 46.4. And the reason that I'm saying this is if we trace this range back historically between these two yellow lines, you can see quite a lot of interesting things happening at this price level right here. I'm sorry, it's these two yellow lines right here. You can see quite a lot of interesting things happening at this price level. Most importantly, I think recently the market was using this area as support very, very well. And so generally when we use an area as support very well, we can expect it to be pretty nasty resistance on the chart as well. And I think that that is where we are potentially headed. If we look a little bit further back as well, we can see that Bitcoin was consolidating around this area, again finding more and more resistance, and then going even further back, we were getting some key reversals around this point in the market as well. Look at this wick. This is absolutely huge, right? The price drops from 49,000 all the way down into this range, which is a fairly sizable drop in and of itself of about 6% in one day. But then within that very same day, the market rallies up by 13 to 7%. So big reversal point in the market right here. Even when the market was getting a big sell-off, guys, just take a look at where this sell-off paused. I just want to highlight this to you so we can very accurately understand what's going on at this price level. The market is dropping very, very quickly, and then for one whole day the candle opens and closes right at this range, again signifying for us, in my opinion, how strong this area was in terms of just keeping the market at a level. And then when we drop below it, we immediately come back up to test this level as resistance and then drop even lower. This 45 to 46k range, 45.8 to 46.4k range is very, very dangerous for Bitcoin, in my opinion, has been for quite some time. And it's not even that, right? It's just the fact that we're getting confluence here as well, right? Not only only is this quite an important level in terms of just being an existing resistance area, because it's been support very recently, and so naturally these things do flip, and old areas of support tend to become new areas of resistance. It's not only that, it's also the fact that, for example, on a 4-hour time frame, if we take a look at this range, let's go on a different chart with a little bit of a less cluttered chart. I'm just going to draw a box between these two very same levels, looking something a little bit like this. This resistance range actually lines up with Ichimoku cloud resistance that we have on this chart. Look at this. The very top of this Ichimoku cloud resistance lines up exactly with my box right here, which means that if Bitcoin pumps up to this level at any point, pretty much within these next, let me measure this really quickly, within these next, 3.5 days, that's quite a long time. If Bitcoin manages to pump up to this level at any point within these next 3.5 days, we can definitely expect resistance to be up in this range. Not only that, but if we take a look at the daily moving average resistance as well, this is where it starts. Look at this on the daily time frame. This is where resistance starts on the daily EMA ribbon right here. And when we have a spread on this ribbon, it is very, very dangerous for the market generally. Look at this. We managed to rally right into this resistance range. And by the way, exactly as we were talking about on the YouTube channel back then, Bitcoin found resistance there and then ended up falling much lower. This was quite a significant rejection from the EMA ribbon. We fell as low as 24% from this high down to this low. And by the way, it didn't even take too long, right? This took only exactly 2 weeks to drop down by about 24%. So a very, very nasty area of resistance awaiting Bitcoin in that range, in my opinion. And this indicator is very useful when it has a spread. It's very useful as support. And of course, when it has a spread, it's also very useful as resistance. Take a look at all of the rejections that this was giving the market previously, just within this very same broad market cycle. So I just want to put this stuff on your radar, right? Like, even though Bitcoin is looking pretty nice right now, if it does manage to rally up, there's quite a lot of dangerous resistance up ahead. And yeah, I hate to say it, but I am quite worried about what that might spell for the market. So if we end up trending down again, here's the deal. If we end up actually getting a rejection, well, I think, the good news here, in my opinion, is that we've shown quite a lot of strength above this level right now. We've just closed the 4-hour candle above this area, which is not the first time we've done that. We did do it previously over here, and then the very next candle dumped right back down. So it can definitely still happen again. However, I am optimistic. The last time that Bitcoin got a 4-hour close above this sideways trading range that I highlighted at the beginning of the video, we didn't have much volume. This time, we don't have an amazing amount of volume, but there is a noticeable spike. And so to me, that is that is interesting. It is significant enough to make it worth pointing out, and for that reason I think that we might be able to hold this level for a little bit longer. And to me, that's quite an important sign, because it is an indication that if Bitcoin does manage to drop back down now, we might be able to use this area as support. Now, see, previously Bitcoin was using this area as resistance quite a bit. If we calculate, just check how many times Bitcoin hit this level and found resistance, we're up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 separate hits of resistance within only, I think this was like a 3.5 day range, right? Let me calculate this again. 4.5 day range. Within 4.5 days, Bitcoin found resistance here 9 times. That makes it quite a significant range, in my opinion. We already knew that it's a significant range. And so if Bitcoin does manage to drop down to this level, I think we can definitely expect a little bit of short-term support right here. And in fact, we're going to start seeing other indicators like the EMA ribbon showing us the very same thing. Look at this on the 1-hour time frame right here, potentially indicating that there is going to be a little bit of support for Bitcoin to enjoy if it rapidly drops down relatively soon. And on this 4-hour time frame as well, we are going to be able to, if we manage to pump up above this area and then come back down, we are going to be able to say that this range can act as support on the EMA ribbon as well. So to me, that is also somewhat exciting. It is a good sign to see, and that is absolutely great. But the issue is, I think if this level does end up failing, we're going to be right back into this range, and this will mean that this is yet another swing failure pattern. Now, a swing failure pattern is when you essentially get a breakout, but I guess another very easy to understand term for swing failure pattern is these are fake outs. This is where the market pushes the upside but lies to you and then drops right back down, and then pushes the downside but lies to you, and then pushes the downside again and lies to you, and so on. And really what's happening here is that leverage traders are losing money, right? So if you don't quite know what you're doing right here, if you're not inside of the 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗧 VIP group, for example, and you're not being trained well enough in this market, or you just haven't paid attention to it because you think that you can magically do better than people who've been in this market for decades, good on you, then you're generally going to be losing money in ranges like this. But if you understand how to navigate these things and you've studied them, this shouldn't be a problem. If this range is confusing you, and God forbid if you're losing money in this range, you need a massive intervention right here, because that means you have lost so much perspective on the market, or perhaps you've never even had it. And I mean, you can keep going on the way you are, but I've been there, and it doesn't end well generally. If you want to jump inside of VIP and learn how I've been able to tackle these things and make sure that I keep myself out of these ranges and I keep my capital safe as I'm navigating these very, very rough waves, then bam, first link in the description down below is going to take you to my very, very completely free Telegram channel, where you get even more analysis completely free of charge from myself and my team, pinged straight to your phone. That's going to take you to this screen where you can click on the @4flies button at the bottom of any post inside of 4flies Gold, and then click send message to ask me how to join 4flies VIP, and I'll give you all of that information within less than 5 to 10 minutes most of the time. If I can't answer you, one of my team members will. And so bringing it back to the chart right here, this to me is quite a significant sign indicating that yeah, this market is still in quite a dangerous range. But of course, if you know what to do about it, it doesn't have to be too worrying. Now, like I said, if we do end up dipping back into this range, we might be able to expect support from the bottom of this range, which is roughly at 41.5. However, I'm not super optimistic about it, and I would be looking at potentially targeting the lows, especially seeing that we are now getting these significant closes above resistance. And so if we do end up targeting these lows, yeah, we could be looking at that 40k range again, and unfortunately potentially even plummeting even lower than that. The only reason I'm still entertaining these very bearish ideas, because believe me, I don't want to, the only reason that I am is because this market at the moment is still showing me signs of people being a little bit too bullish. If we look at the funding rates, for example, take a look at this on the 1 hour time frame. We are now actually quite bearish on the 1 hour time frame, but if we look at this on the 1 day time frame, for example, we've been worse. And to me, this is the thing, is I would have loved to see the funding rates even lower, right? If I drop a horizontal line right here, you can see this pretty clearly, where funding rates have been a lot lower than this previously, right? Look at this, the funding rates over here. If I just drop a vertical line, bam, right here, you can see that they were actually considerably lower, when the market was trading at $30,000 than where we are right now. And so while the trend overall is in the right direction and people are generally seeming to get a little bit more bearish recently, it might not be enough yet. And you know what would set up a perfect setup in this market to give us that very low funding rate, indicating that a lot of people have lost faith in the market. They're not taking up long positions, they're only taking up short positions, which means nobody is buying and people only want to sell. Well, that might happen if we end up kind of trading into this range and finding a little bit of a rejection, because each time we drop in price and each time we have these kind of reaction rallies, which we predicted perfectly on the YouTube channel. Again, by the way, if you're around for that, do me a favor, smash up the likes. If you haven't already subscribed yet, I don't know what the hell you're doing. This analysis has been on point in this market lately, and you're missing it if you're not a subscriber of this channel. The thing that happens when we do these things is we get these reaction rallies, we hit resistance, and then we drop down as we're predicting, is that the people in this market, you guys, us, will become very scared, will become very upset, and we'll just lose interest. It's like constantly being wronged and being hurt by somebody, and eventually you just fucking give up. You're just done with it. And that's what happens with Bitcoin traders. That's what happens to traders in any market, right? Is you just constantly get hurt. The market is dropping. It's stabbing you. It's twisting that dagger with time, and then it's giving you false hope, and it's dropping down again, and eventually you just give up, because you've had enough. And that's called capitulation. That's called capitulation, where we get these big drops right here. People throw in the towel. They decide, fuck it, I'm out, I've had enough. That's when we start seeing funding rates dipping a lot. You see this capitulation right here? Look at how low the funding rates were on this day. I mean, this was pretty damn low. The next lowest day that we had was actually way back in May of 2021, where we got the big crash all the way down to the low of about $30,000. that's called capitulation, and the funding rate shows it. So, that is a very, very real indication of where people are putting their money in the market. And while it is still generally quite bearish, I think that we might just need a little bit more. And that's me kind of mixing my longer term analysis with also my shorter term analysis, which you guys know that I tend to do fairly well at, is mainly the short term analysis, because that is what I generally tend to care about more in these markets. Now, the other thing though that I want to show you, painting a much more bullish image, is one of the classic kind of signs that Bitcoin likes to form in terms of what it's doing with this trend right now. And I just need to make sure that I draw this correctly, because I know I'm probably doing it wrong. It looks something a little bit like, bear with me, probably need to do this on the log scale. Looks something a little bit like this, where Bitcoin was finding resistance on this downward sloping diagonal resistance line, and also at the very same time finding support of this downward sloping diagonal support line. This is painting what is a very, very long falling wedge pattern. However, the overall point is that Bitcoin has been trading in a fairly narrow downtrend for quite a lot of time now. If we measure this from the point that it began to our current day of trading and the percentage drop, we're down by 38% in 62 days. This is a really, really big correction. And again, it reinforces why, broadly speaking, I still think this market is very, very close to a bottom. For me, it's only about timing that bottom. I know that there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin going sub 40K, potentially down to levels like 35 and so on. I still don't think that that's the case. Yes, absolutely, a flash crash just like what we got right here, which I was predicting. That's fine. I would love to see that. That would be very, very nice. Just getting a really, really quick flash dip down and then carrying on rising back up, to me, would make total sense. But I mean, like, actually trading down at those levels, dropping below 38K and so on, I just don't see it happening. And I think a big reason for that is that, yeah, this market has already been pummeled enough, in my opinion. Bottom line, ladies and gents, Bitcoin is not dropping right here. I really need you guys to keep this in mind right now. Let me blow up my camera while I say this. Bitcoin is not dropping in price right now because it's getting fundamentally worse. It's not dropping in price right now because it's, the technology is weaker or less people are adopting it or anything like that. Each of these things are not the case. The technology is getting better. More people are adopting it. The space is getting stronger. There's more infrastructure being set up. There are a million reasons for why Bitcoin is staying exactly as strong as it has been before, if not getting better, and why it's not getting weaker, yet the price is still falling. And so that generally means that we were overextended before, and the market is very, very emotional. Now, the good news is that those two things are short term. And as we approach major support levels like what we're at right now, it only spells good signs for the market. So that's why, even in the short term, I must be bearish, because the short term chart is still bearish. In the longer term, I'm still looking for reasons to go long on Bitcoin. I still think that Bitcoin looks really good. It's just that I haven't quite seen the signs yet that the market has bottomed out. I would love to see Bitcoin trading up to the top of this range right here. This would complete another rejection of this downward trading resistance trend, and of course potentially let us load up on a little bit more of the tears of the moon boys, which of course, as we know, is basically another form of kerosene, rocket fuel, or whatever the hell we want to call it, is the salty tears of people who are overextended and overinvested in the crypto markets out of emotion and desperation. It is when people like that give up and decide to give their money back to the already wealthy, who are generally much more patient, that is generally when good things happen for us in these markets. So don't succumb to it. The market is still looking absolutely fantastic to me from a longer term perspective, and from a short term perspective, it does still show to me that we have a lot of resistance overhead and potentially quite a bit of weakness, with a little bit of support in between. So it does depend on how we interact with these levels. But there you go. That is my very rounded, what I would like to consider quite objective analysis on the market. Now, again, if you want to see how that translates into trades, then bam, the steps are on screen right here. I've actually just prepared and planned my my latest trade. I haven't entered it yet, but my orders are set and I'm waiting. This is how I like to trade. A lot of people think that I'm a day trader. A lot of people think that I never trade at all. Both of those things are false. I trade pretty frequently by my definitions, but My trading style is very, very relaxed. I absolutely never, you will never, ever, ever catch me sitting at my laptop and trading for minutes or hours in a day. I just don't do it. I have a life and I like to keep it. And more importantly, it's massively ineffective to do stuff like that. So the way I like to trade is I plan my stuff out well in advance. I set my orders and I'm drinking cocktails and doing whatever. I mean, I don't drink, but you know, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want other than obsessing over the markets and analysis in these spaces. And generally I found that that works best for my mental health. And of course that works best for my wallet as well. So if you want to jump inside of VIP and see exactly how I managed to achieve that, I'm not only telling you what I'm doing, but why I'm doing all of it as well. Most recently, I put a trade breakdown video inside of VIP breaking down my most recent trade, which was a pretty nice but small profit inside of this turbulent market, breaking down why I closed that position, why I opened it, and so on. So, you know, if you do want to jump inside VIP and watch all of our exclusive videos, which, you know, these analysis videos are exactly that. They're all about analysis, but VIP videos are all about trading. If you want to gain access to that, and then of course the 𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗦 Academy, where I teach you everything I know about trading from A to Z, all the theory, all the, you know, everything about analysis and so on, all packed inside of one course. Again, these are the steps on screen to get the information for it. And of course, most of you joining VIP will get it completely free of charge. So you get the theory in the course and the practical in VIP side by side, and you've got a killer combination. So again, these are the steps on screen if you want to jump in. And of course, still $4,100 waiting for you to grab it. All you got to do is sign up using my link in the description down below to Bybit, which is my favorite exchange. I've been using them for years, been working with them for years, and it's the only place that I'm comfortable trading on these days. So if you want to jump in and trade using the very same exchange that I use, which by the way, now also supports, this is very, very exciting, not only 𝗪𝗙𝗏, which you guys know I was very, very bullish on, but also 𝗪𝗙𝗏. Look at that, it also supports 𝗪𝗙𝗏 right now. So two absolutely phenomenal coins. Again, if you want to jump inside on all of that, the link is down below for you to sign up to Bybit and get up to $4,100 for free as a gift from me to you for using my link in the description down below. Again, these are the steps for VIP. You already know the deal for your free Bybit cash, and I'll see you all in the very next video. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.